few updates. I think the strength of my channel, I wanted to explain it a little bit for those who have newly tuned in, is so I have a really massive inner ear problem, and I can't hear in my left ear, and I have a lot of pain for about 35 years or so. Ever since I was said I would stand in the gap for our nation, just spent many years just listening to the Lord. Like, I've learned his voice. He speaks to me in dreams and visions in his soft voice. It's always, of course, scriptural. He fulfilled his prophecies the first way on earth, very different than people thought. And he's doing that as well, although I think he's doing that now as well. But I think it's very... like when you really tune in, and it's very interesting how it isn't that unclear. It's just not what people are thinking. So so you can watch my whole End Time series. I really encourage you to do that. The other strength in this channel is that we have a team of people, and we're also listening to others. So we're listening to other prophetic people, other believers who are getting information, and we're piecing it together. So one thing I notice is that a lot of the channels and the really amazing people trying to get the word out on YouTube and other means through their research, through their dreams, through their ministry, a lot of them are not listening to each other. So they're too busy, and I don't blame them. But I only have, a couple hundred subscribers. I have 2 channels. So this is my main channel, Mystic Center, and my backup channel just has a space between Mystic and Center. But we are listening to other people, and then it's amazing how people's dreams are lining up with someone else's information, and that's what I'm trying to do with my channel. And also the dates of the Lord. So he set these dates in motion from the beginning of time, and his days will always be honored. And the enemy is always trying to alter the time. So I had this really, really, really bad dream, like the scariest nightmare you've ever been in. And it was basically this disgusting looking little man creature was changing a clock to 3 p.m. and then another disgusting creature was changing another clock. And I'm going to give a whole video on that, about the 2 ways that the enemy tries to alter the Lord's time and days. And because he always wants to be worshipped and not the Lord. But the Lord honors his days. And his days are all deeply rooted in the feasts of Israel and the times of Israel, and it's all about Israel. So I have so many exciting videos to do, and I just don't have time because I'm actually moving. And by the way, one last call. If you want to move, please move out of the coast in New York and Portland and other coastal areas, and move away from the Madrid fault line. So anyway, so the times are in the Lord's hands, and we believe, so Minor Perkins studies Hebrew and ancient Hebrew, and he was just doing the genealogy of Jesus, and he stumbled on Daniel's 70th week being in 2017, and that's why this research is so amazing, because once we realized that right after the Revelation sign, in September 23rd, 2017, once we realized that the 7 years was starting, which we believe is more like around October 9th or 10th, and I think it's feast, I have to look it up. But that leads us, so now, it's helpful because because I've been following this timeline for 2 years, I've already been anticipating that things are escalating up until Passover of 2021. So I thought it was really interesting. Pastor Dina Coverstone, who's been getting all those amazing dreams, he said something big is going to happen on Passover 2021. Now we believe that will be pretty much the exact start of the last 3.5 years. That will be the start of the Antichrist. that will be the last 1,260 days, and it's calculated from when we believe the 7 years started in October of 2017. So there's so many things that have been fulfilled that are amazing, but I want to just talk right now a little bit because I want to update everyone on the peace and safety. So, it's great that woke you up, but that is not the covenant with many. That is the Lord's covenant. And there is going to be destruction. And so I think that, it's good that people are woken up. Now, what's interesting is, okay, I've done these videos on Pastor Dana and the two other prophetic people who all got the same prophecies. They all got the same prophecies. They don't know each other. I found these and my team found these. And so September, civil unrest. October, civil war, the dollar falling, collapsing, into November, this military invasion. So how is that all going to happen? So that's what is like so cool, because then listening to other people, so, I follow Israeli News Live. And so his sources are saying that there is going to be a false flag event that is intentional.
The way they're doing it. So when I heard that the CIA was using gutted airliners to transport weapons from Rome, Italy, back to the United States, that didn't surprise me at all. But then I look at all the other information that I've been given as well. Like our FEMA engineer shared with me that they're going to do a false flag attack. Now, this is not something that FEMA per se knows, but the FEMA engineer that I know, he has a very good high-ranking source as well that too is in the know of what's going on, and said that they're going to do a false flag attack either on Washington, D.C. or on New York City.
So that is anticipated to be in Washington, D.C. or New York, and anticipated to be really soon, September or in early October, and it will be much like what happened in recently in Lebanon. So that, and he said there's other things that are happening to get us distracted from what's happening, but when you hear those dreams about the 3 dreams about the civil unrest, and you're like, well, how's that really going to escalate that bad? I mean, and then you're thinking about this debris field coming in, the asteroid debris field coming in. Is it that's going to be the catalyst to this more civil and war? But if you think of a catalyst event like this flash flag event, so if that really happens, then that if it's an attack on Washington, D.C., and how they stage the attack, now who's behind it and why they're trying to do this, I don't know. The other thing is there's been military weaponry being flown in commercial aircraft into our country coming from Italy.
But the situation that we got on this intel about the CIA being involved in using passenger airliners that have been gutted out and shipping arms to the United States from Italy was very much alarming for us.
This whole civil war could be staged. And did you know that even, now some people might think this is way out there, but the George Floyd thing may have been staged. It really may have been staged to cause all these riots. And the sad thing is that these people that are ignorant, they just go into this mode and they don't question stuff. So this whole civil war may be staged. Like this, even the military invasion from China, who's backing what? Like, we don't really know, but it sounds like from his sources that are in the CIA and FEMA and other sources that these things are happening.
I was told this weekend that the president has the access to get from D.C. to Colorado in 45 minutes. So, I'm being told this at a very odd time, and at the same time, I'm being told that there's going to be a false flag attack on Washington, D.C., and of course they're looking at doing this civil war. So to me, it looks like they're already preparing for the president to be moved to Colorado. Now, under the false flag scenario, if I remember this correctly, the president will go missing and he will not resurface until a little later. And then, of course, I was told, this is from my FEMA engineer friend, he said that the president would be missing and that people, of course, will think the worst, which will only help the patriots and the Christians to rise up because they're wanting to blame this attack on Antifa and Black Lives Matter, which I think that might be where the small arm weapons are being delivered to in order to arm these insurgents. But I say insurgents because it won't just be these people. Send this nation into chaos once that takes place. Once you see an attack on the Capitol, everybody's going to blame everybody, and it's going to be a total meltdown.
I wanted to bring this out because, I'm trying to prepare, with food and water, and I'm trying to help others get out of cities and get to more rural areas and, prepare themselves for their family. But it was kind of like, well, how's that, realistically, how are we going to go from A to B? Like, we know the civil unrest is crazy right now, which it is. We know it's also moving into the neighborhoods.
As the police van loaded with agitators tried leaving the scene, this happened. Put your gun! Put your gun! Joining me now is the journalist who shot that incredible footage, townhall.com's senior writer, Julio Rosas. Julio, were they trying to keep the arrested from going to jail? What was happening there?
No, that's exactly right, Raymond. They were chanting, release them.
Young white radicals lecturing African Americans about racism and defunding the police. I thought they were against white privilege.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And we're really seeing this new trend where protesters and rioters are no longer focused on the downtown areas. They're in fact going to the residential neighborhoods, and that's where it happened in D.C. last night. But we've also seen it in Seattle.
Now this debris field, so there's an anticipated asteroid on September 1st, and then we're going to be under like a debris field that may or may not enter our atmosphere. That's a precursor to the Planet X debris, which will be hitting us from its interaction with Jupiter. Planet X debris will be hitting the Earth in 2021, in March, around Passover. So that is, those are all catalytic events that the Lord is doing that will, give way to his rise of the Antichrist, which he gives out, 3.5 years. But the thing is, just wanted to give you these updates that the escalation and all these prophetic dreams, along with the sources that Israeli News Live has, I think they really line up. And I think these things are really going to happen. So just be prepared and be in prayer and just be covered with the Lord.
You could end up having an EMP strike, because he talks about atmospheric earthquakes. They might do it all. Who knows? And then you cause more hunger, shutting down of the supply chain, as it was shared with me from my Pentagon source that I shared with you guys, because they want to make sure they destroy this nation. And that's the George Soros bunch out there with his Antifa, and has used the Black Lives Matter, created it for it, and many of these people have no clue that what they've gotten themselves into is a disaster. And a lot of people are going to